Hey, hey. Hmm. Grooving into season 17.
Right? I was
Yes.
thinking as that intro music was going, I was thinking
Mhm.
because we've been working on the upcoming Women Connected and Wisdom Summit and
Yes.
how we always let it go longer at the summit. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's like, oh, podcast link,
Right.
summit link. Here we go.
Here we go. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to it. Like earlier, we had it closer to the release of the book, right? So
Mhm.
it's like I'm ready to get there. I'm ready to see who's going to be in the room and looking forward to the impact of it.
Right? And dreaming about, is this the year we do it in person? Or is it next? All those things.
Mhm.
So this one coming up in February, at the end of February, is virtual for sure. But
Yes. What's on the way, right?
what's on the way?
How have you been?
I am well. It is that time of year that the
Mhm.
calendar is full,
Mm.
right? Full of possibilities,
Mhm.
full of people wanting to reconnect,
Right.
full of tasks that need to be done as small business owners, just
Yes.
full,
Yes.
right? What
Yes.
about you?
I'm good. I've been thinking about you. I've been getting up earlier and I've also been listening to my body, right? Today we're talking about
Mhm.
physical wellness. So I definitely try to make sure I practice what I preach and been getting up at 6 o'clock. And this morning I let myself rest a little bit. And I said, see, this is why I'm getting up early. So I know I have extra blocks of time and I don't feel rushed. So that's been really good getting up before the sun.
Are you enjoying that morning quiet time?
I am. And thankfully, I have the privilege and the yes, the privilege that most of my space is usually quiet. Thankfully
Mm.
without having kids yet, maybe the neighbors and everything will hear them. A storm outside, like yesterday we were talking about tornadoes, that's the most I have to worry about. But early in the
Mm.
morning is still different and it's beautiful.
I think one of the ways it's different too, and most of us have our notifications set to quiet and things
Mhm.
like that. But
Right.
it is that time before like the emails start coming
Yes.
and your phone
The
starts
text.
beeping at you. Like it is like this time of a deep breath, right? And I was it was yesterday morning when the big storms came through here in Atlanta. And I
Right.
mean, it was pouring down rain. And I usually am outside at sunrise, but no, not when
Mm.
it's pouring down rain and
Right.
35 degrees, not
Right.
happening. But I was sitting at my kitchen table, like writing my morning pages and kind of waiting for the sun. And you couldn't see the sun because I mean, it was lots of cloud, lots of rain.
Right.
But you know how I knew the sun was up?
How?
The birds started.
Mhm.
Even in the midst of all of that, like, the birds were like, "Hello, new day." I'm
Yes.
like, "You go, birds."
You
Like,
go,
I
bird.
was thinking, "Why are we even working today?" Right?
Right? Yes, I hear you. And I told you that's my reminder. Look at the trees and look at the birds and remember that you're taken care of. So it could be
Right?
storming, possible tornadoes, cold, rain, and you can still sing though. Your voice still works. You're still here. You have what you need.
Right?
Yeah,
Absolutely. I had a little I did you see a little
I did, but
cutout
you're
on
back.
my end?
You're
Okay,
back.
I'm back.
Yes.
Yeah, that was weird. Okay. Should we do our official intro here and
Let's do
kick
it.
this party off? All right, let's
Yes.
do this.
Hi,
That may
ladies.
help it.
Okay. I'm Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hi, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, Amazon best-selling published author and publisher, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Yes, together we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co founders of Women Connected in Wisdom Community.
And we like to get together every week and have special expert guests for weekly intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. How do we do it?
Yes, yes. And for me, again, recently is getting up earlier. Last year I talked a lot about holding my non negotiables, and I did a great job at that. What that meant sometimes is that for business hours, let's say you want to call the IRS, right? You want to call them early if possible. If they open at 8, I would be running and working out and making breakfast, doing different things. While at the same time, there's this feeling like you should be calling the IRS, right? You should be on the phone right now. You should be doing this.
Yeah.
And we try not to shit on ourselves, but still knowing that with effective time management, things are better at a certain time. It's really helped me still keep my non-negotiables, but move it a little bit earlier so I can get that physical discipline and physical wellness that I need and also feel effective with what I'm doing in the businesses.
Love that. I have been really taking a deep breath at the start of this year. I was working on my newsletter and I was looking up, it was interesting because,
Mm,
the new year got shifted to January by the Romans. So before that period of time, the new year started like in March. It
mm,
started after the first solstice, I believe.
okay.
And so it would be March. And then like the Chinese New Year starts in February. And what I
Right.
was looking up is every month except one, don't quote me on this, but I think
Okay.
it was May. Every year, every month except one, some different culture celebrates the new year,
Mm,
right?
mhm.
And so I was like, okay, so we're not behind,
No,
right?
no.
you know, I love a good brand new start and things like that. But sometimes I feel like, oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing
Right.
that, right?
Mhm.
What I've really been paying attention to, especially with how much I traveled last year, is really just easing in and spending more, like catching those coffee breaks or catching that breakfast with my family and really paying attention and intentional when I'm home because there's going to be a lot of times that I'm not home. And
Right.
so I've really been, that's where my focus has been this year.
Good job.
Um, and I know we're talking about physical wellness today.
Mhm.
And I looked up today because of the weather we've had, and I'm like, whew, I think I'm on day 3 without my regular walk. I'm getting a
Okay.
little cranky here.
Mm,
So,
I hear you.
so just noticing that.
Yes, I hear you. And that's how it's and COVID taught me that, right? Even with being a band nerd, being outside with my dad and landscaping, I didn't realize how important it was because that was a natural part of everything I was doing. But with COVID
Mhm,
being inside,
mhm.
the attitude get a little tighter. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, well, you haven't spent your time outside, and it's more than just stepping outside between the door and the car. You need to go walk, go run, go to Piedmont Park and enjoy the fresh air.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. It's and we've finally got some sunshine today, so that's
Yes.
lovely. Should we
Yes.
give our listeners our definition and
Let's
kick
do it.
this off? All
Yes.
right, let's do it. Here we go. I am so excited about our guest today.
Me too.
So, the definition of physical wellness, y'all, is the ability to maintain a quality of life that allows you to thrive in your daily activities without undue fatigue or physical stress. Physical wellness recognizes that our daily choices, habits, and behaviors have an impact on our overall health, well being, and quality of life. And if you don't get your walk in, you may get cranky.
Right. That is undue fatigue, right? And that's what comes up today for me for this, especially for the title of our show, right?
Mhm.
Use your human design to overcome burnout. So
Mm,
burnout, for me, that's like, okay, maybe that's undue fatigue, right? There's reasons for it, but does it have to happen? It doesn't always have to happen. Let's talk about how we can be preventative.
right?
Mhm.
I have a thing, and I'm noticing it this week, especially because I'm meeting to meeting back to back. It's just like I
Right.
said, my calendar is full.
Yes.
And there's that, it's like we talk about in Still Point,
Mhm.
right? About self care, the saying no and saying yes and making choices, right? Because it feels good. Like it feels good to be this productive. It feels good to get this stuff done.
Right.
But paying attention and noticing, like, oh, you're in day 3 without a walk. And yes,
Right.
the weather's been bad, but I could go down and get on the treadmill. Like,
Yes.
I have that privilege and I have that machine in my house. Not
Yes.
my fave, but I can do it.
Right.
Um, just that balance that we look at with the 8 dimensions of wellness, right?
Mhm.
And acknowledging that sometimes we have to say no to things that feel good or that we're like, oh, and I think about with that when I think about burnout. because I can hyper focus, and I'm curious about what our expert guest is going to say, because it's probably in my human design about, like, I can go vroom, right?
Yes.
And I'm a generator, so like it's like whoo, I'm creating, create, and then I can fizzle,
Mhm.
like if I'm not paying attention to the other things. So,
I hear what you're saying.
right.
Yes. So if you're okay, I want to go ahead and read again our expert guest's bio
Okay.
so we can
Yes.
bring her up and start having this
Let's do
conversation. I'm
it.
ready to go into the rabbit hole, but we have to
Right?
have the whole
Episode
party here.
143. Let's do
Right.
it.
Okay, guys. So Michelle, am I saying that right? Am I saying that right? Yes. Okay, let's start over. Sahar Michelle is a certified energy transformation coach that specializes in teaching individuals how to master and transmute their energy and leverage radical self-love to create the life of their dreams. Using proven techniques, personal wisdom, and spiritual healing tools such as human design, gene keys, and astrology, she is able to help her clients form and execute their unique vision in a way that is divinely inspired. Help us welcome to the stage Sahar Michelle.
Hi,
Hi,
you
Sahar.
guys.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
What a perfect time of year to come on and tell us how to do all of this.
Right?
most definitely. I think this is
Yes.
divine timing for sure.
Right? Happy New Year. How has the start of your 2024 been?
To be honest, there have been ups and downs already, but
Right?
with knowing my human design, I know that it's supposed to go that way, and I'm kind of riding that wave. So it's been
Yes.
really good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will you tell our listeners who this may be the first time they're hearing the words human design? Will you tell them what that means?
Most definitely. So, human design is really a tool to teach you about your energetic blueprint. Human design is a system that is comprised of the intersection of at least five different ancient systems from all around the world. So, within it, you have the Vedic chakra system, which includes our seven main chakra points. You have astrology, from the Western tradition. You have the I Ching, which comes from Chinese tradition, and the Kabbalah, which comes from Jewish tradition, as well as a little bit of quantum mechanics in there as well. But it's the combination of all these systems that then shows you what unique energy you were brought into this world with, and helps you to better understand how to use your energy to best serve you and to best serve others.
So important,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially when we talk about burnout. So, can we go into that a little bit? Use your human
Mhm.
design to overcome burnout. The first thing I think about is prevention, right? When
Yes.
you hear that, what do you think about?
So, burnout. I love talking about burnout because it's an easier segue into human design. I
Okay.
think when you start out with human design, some people can get lost in, oh, we're talking about the stars and astrology and all of these
Right.
things, but everybody can relate in some way or fashion to burnout.
That makes sense.
And to me, burnout is really once your body has been sending you signal after signal and you've been ignoring it and you just cannot move forward anymore. That's my simple definition for burnout. And prevention is the best way to deal with burnout. But when we are talking about burnout in general, I know a lot of us, we may have to start with recovery. And in order to recover, it's not just about rest. And I think that's a common misconception when we talk about burnout. It deals with reconstructing really your whole life, reconstructing habits, reframing your mindset, and putting systems and things in place so that you don't return to that same space. Because, yes, you can rest and maybe recuperate for a little bit, but if you start again doing all those same things you were doing before, you're going to wind up right back in that place of burnout.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
So I know we talked about you moving industries, right? And coming
Hmm.
into this space, helping people with their energy. How has your journey been with burnout? Can you give us a little bit of
Yes,
that? And now that you know all of these things, what is it that you do to stay centered?
for sure. So I will tell you, I encountered burnout very early within my career. With my first job out of school, a little bit of background, I majored in computer science, and my first job out of college was in the support area. So I was doing support for big business accounts with a well known tech company.
Got it.
And this is very taxing not only on your mental capacity but your emotional wellness as well, right? Because you're dealing with people that are frustrated day in and day out. You're solving complex problems. And in general, it just wasn't something that lit me up. It wasn't something that brought me joy. I did learn a lot in that position, but I would end the days just feeling completely wiped out, to the point where I even fell into a bit of a depression at a certain point and was just hoping for a way out,
Yeah.
whatever that way out may have been.
Right.
And at a certain point, I just knew I couldn't continue in that. And I gave myself sort of an ultimatum. It was like, either I'm going to find a new job by this date, or we're using some other exit plan. We're going to move back home. We're going to do
Mhm.
something different
Got it.
in order to shift out of this phase of life.
Right.
Yeah. So again, I experienced burnout very early and quickly realized it was not something that was sustainable. It wasn't something that felt good in my body. And I just want to share with others that it's not something you have to live with. You can remix and change your life however you want. And over the years, that has been what life has shown me, is that you really do have the power to change your reality into one that really serves you and really lights you up and brings you joy on a daily basis.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Christine, you look like you have something to add.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about two things. I was thinking about what you said about that when you're experiencing this, that you experience some depression. And
Mhm.
I was thinking I've had burnout in the past, and what it feels like in my body is like that weight and that heaviness.
Yeah.
And like you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, and it is associated with a task that like like you're really moving through molasses, right? And then I was thinking about the joy I felt in my body, even you just describing, like, you don't have to stay in that place, right? That we can co create something different. We can, and you don't have to do it by yourself. Like, there's people like you who are coaches, myself, Shannon. Like, there are people who will walk alongside you with this because it can be scary. It can
Mhm.
be scary when you went to school for a certain thing and you got this degree, and then you're like, ooh, yeah, that's not working for me, right?
Right?
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what was all going. That's what you saw in my face because I was thinking about all of those things. I was like, okay, yeah, this is a big deal. And I first of
It
all
is.
want to say, yay for you,
Yes.
and congrats on having the courage to listen to your body and make a change. Because I think we're getting better at that, right? I
Mhm.
know people, my parents' generation absolutely were horrible at it. They would stay at a job that they hated until they fell over. My generation is kind of half and half about people, whether they'll stay in the industry that they're, because that's what they got their degree in, or they'll, we're kind of a mixed bag with my generation. But I think the generations beyond me are really starting to listen to their bodies, and they're starting to listen to their spirits. And I think that's good for all of us.
Most definitely.
Definitely. Did you have something to that you wanted to, how do you say it? Mention based on what she said, Sahar, before I go to the next question?
Yes,
Okay,
there
go
was
ahead.
a couple of things that just popped into my head as I was listening to you, Christine. The first is that, this journey of overcoming burnout definitely requires community. That's something that is necessary when we talk about rewriting our future, rewriting our reality. You need those support systems in place to help you to shift and change and get out of those systems that are keeping you burnt out and out of energy. Um, Also, I believe that, you know what? I lost my train of thought. So once it comes back, we'll get
That's
back to
okay. It
it.
happens to the best of us, right?
Yeah.
So let's go here. I was on your LinkedIn, right, which is beautiful.
Mhm.
And you were
Thank you.
talking about, of course, capturing impossibilities, releasing boundaries. Can you talk a little bit about that? How do you help clients? How do you capture an
Mhm.
impossibility?
So most of this work that I do, it's all about reframing your mind, right?
Mhm.
Even though we're talking about burnout, which shows up in a very physical nature, it's imperative that you have a mindset shift before you can make any sort of significant change. And so, capture impossibilities, release boundaries is all about that. It's all about rediscovering the power that you have within, rediscovering your uniqueness. Again, going back to human design, understanding that the energy that you came here with is perfect just as it is. It may be different from, your partner or your friend, but it is perfect and it's here to meet a universal need. So you have your own strengths and challenges that will be perfectly matched up with the next person's strengths and challenges. And so learning that unique power that is within you can take you farther than anything you could have ever imagined. So that's all that is about.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's really interesting when you go through, for me, and it sounds like for a lot of people, it's been this journey of I was in this position, I decided to leave, and now I'm somewhere else, right?
Mhm.
And stepping down for the first time from salary management when my mom was sick and realizing that I forgot what I wanted for myself. Not only what I wanted, right? And that's something that might be a need, it might not, might be something I will do or something that might not happen. But what happens when you tap into your power, right? That's even more
Mhm.
important than needs or wants. So if I forgot what I wanted, I was definitely disconnected from the power that I had as an individual outside of the system. So getting reconnected to that has been amazing. And I love having conversations like this because, like you say, being connected to community in order to overcome burnout is really important. We talk a lot about how community can be that mirror to remind you that you're amazing or to remind you of how much work you have been doing and how far you have come.
Mhm. Most definitely. And I like what you said about your experience because I think a lot of us have similar experiences where we do forget that childlike innocence, that childhood dream that we had, and we just get caught up in what society tells us that we should be doing. We get caught up in, this job makes this salary, and so I
Right.
have to go on this track, and we lose ourselves ultimately. And I know for me personally, that had a lot to do with overcoming people pleasing, like a habit of people pleasing and trying to do what everybody else said that I should do. And it shows up for different people in different ways through different life experiences, but it's so necessary for us all to return back to our authenticity and to our true selves so that we can live those best lives. And when we live our best lives, we enrich others as well.
Yes.
Mm, I love that, Sahar. So when you like, if somebody's listening and they're like, okay, this human design sounds like a great tool. It sounds like it has helped you to reclaim yourself and shift what you're doing in your life. How did they find it? How do they find out what their chart looks like and what's their first step?
So there are several different websites where you can get a free version of your chart. The one that I use is my body graph, but there's also myhumandesign.com. There's also, um, if you just Google, like I believe Jovian Archive is a reputable source to get your chart as well. And that's where you can get a copy of your chart and you may get a few nuggets or tidbits about it. If you want to dive deeper, I know that there are a few apps out there, but you can also come to a trusted human design coach or reader. I do readings as well. So if you want to dive a little deeper, because it is a rabbit hole that you can go down with a ton of information that can just really enrich your life. But that would be the starting point, is just getting a copy of your chart and starting to look through the main details. I will say anybody worth their grain of salt when it comes to reading will tell you the most important parts of your chart are your type, your strategy, and your authority. And so there are 5 different chart types. It should tell you once you enter all of your information what your chart type is. And that is what determines what your strategy is. And your strategy is exactly how you best interact with the world, new opportunities, new relationships, all of those things. And it will give you that blueprint or that step by step of, okay, this is the way that I should act as opposed to the way that I've been taught to interact with these situations. Then your authority is your inner compass for making decisions. So, for all of my people that have ever struggled with making decisions, they go back and forth, they create pros and cons lists, they ask everybody in their phone what they think they should do.
Right.
Want to lean into what your internal authority is, because again, it goes back to connecting to the body. I love that we're talking about physical wellness here, because human design is all about reconnecting to your body and its inner wisdom. And so your authority is all about tapping back into that inner wisdom and trusting it to be in alignment with your highest good.
So important. And when I think about what you just said, it reminds me of a conversation we were having earlier, right? And what would stop somebody from being in their authority? Maybe something that they're holding, something that, like you're saying, their body is telling them, but maybe they're not paying attention, right? So, can you
Mhm.
talk about how you help people with body movement and releasing things so that they can be most centered?
Sure, I'll answer that twofold. So, first things first, I think the majority of us all across the world have been taught to doubt our inner authority in some way. A lot of us have been taught to make mental decisions and use logic, which is just the way of the world right now. Whereas human design tells us nobody is supposed to make decisions with their mind. It is supposed to all be internal, to connect to your body, to that inner wisdom, because your inner wisdom is connected to your higher self. And the mind, not to get too deep, too technical here, but the mind
We're here for it.
is is always externally pointed. So it can never be the best way to gauge a personal decision, because it's always pointed outward to universal knowledge as opposed to individual experience.
That makes sense.
Yes. And as far as we're talking about movement, I I have danced my entire life. It is my first love, as I like
Mm.
to say. And very recently, I have been offering a movement meditation. And this is all about reconnecting to your body and learning to just trust its movement. So it's not like many dance classes where they're choreography based, or where you have to worry about, skill or talent or any of those things. When you come into the class, we set intentions. We talk about all of the things that bring us joy, all the things we want to release, and all of the things that we want to manifest or call in. And after a warm up where we just get loose, everybody closes their eyes. There's nothing external to focus on. And then I lead everyone through a guided meditation throughout all of those things, the joy, the release, and the manifesting, to just tap into your body and to connect to how it wants to move. And so in this process, you learn to trust yourself a little bit more. You may get more in tune with, you know, where your body feels good versus where it's feeling a bit of unease. And that helps you to tap more into what your body needs. And I love movement as a method of doing this, because your body is always speaking to you, but a lot of us have muted that connection. A lot of us have ignored those signals that it gives us. And so things do tend to snowball into things like burnout or chronic disease or other manifestations where our body is finally like, I'm taking you fully out of the count because you're not listening to the small signals that I'm giving you. And so movement is just a great way to start beginning to listen to your body again and return to how you came into this world, right? We're all just returning back to self.
I love that. I love that you offer that. Now, is that something you offer virtually or in a physical space near Atlanta? Where how do people get to come to that class?
So, right now, it is in a physical space. I believe the next time we'll be offering it is the 19th. So, not this Friday, but next Friday. And it will be in Decatur, Georgia. So if you are in the area and you are interested, it will be at Soulful Sound Studio, which is 409 Mead Road in Decatur. But I do believe in the future, just with the changes and things that are going on in my life, I may begin offering it virtually as well.
I love that.
Mhm.
I think it's so important. When you talk about that, I think about interplay. It's a modality I do that uses movement and storytelling and voice, and just the similarities of really just being embodied and being in your body and then noticing. Like when you said that about like noticing what feels good in your body and noticing what may not feel good. Like it's really just that easy. Like a lot of times people are like, I don't know how to start. And part of it is like the starting with the breathing. And I love when you said that about having people close their eyes and just go inward. Like that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think this was mentioned earlier, but I think a lot of us tend to judge ourselves and our bodies. We've taken on judgments from others or from social media or from other types of media about how we show up and how we take up space and how we move and how we look. And so just that simple motion of closing the eyes, it's like just block out all the noise. Nobody else is paying attention to you because they have their eyes closed as well. So you can do whatever you like. You can be as silly as you like. You can be as boisterous as you like. And just allow yourself to be free in that moment.
That's awesome. How long does that meditation or class last?
So it is about an hour exactly. Not in, I don't know if that includes the intention setting or not, but it's about an hour in total, and it ends with a wonderful sound bath. So
Mm,
it's a nice way to just restore after all of that movement, after all of that shaking. You just to lay down on the mat and just take a breather, connect with your breath, and really just take care of yourself at that moment.
mm,
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
gorgeous.
And
Huge fan of sound baths.
Hmm.
yes, and it reminds me of when we met, Sahar, I didn't it surprised me when I thought about it, right? We met at the Glow Club. We were at the
Hmm.
retail space on Auburn Avenue, and part of me was like, I knew that the retail space was loud. It's by Grady, right? There's ambulance rolling by, cars, people walking by. And I said, maybe this is not the best setting for a meditation, right? But being there with you, being there with Jeremy, and having my eyes closed, I was like, wow. One, I felt safe enough to have my eyes closed for that long with you guys. So I said, "This is nice," right?
Yeah.
And it was that was the interesting thing to me though, because I didn't realize that I would wanna feel safe with my I didn't realize that I would feel unsafe with my eyes closed in a group of other people
Mhm.
at a meditation. So that came up and I said, "I'm glad that I'm here. It's beautiful with my eyes closed. It feels great. We let go of time and just were," you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yes. Yes. Shout out to Jeremy and Soulful Sound Studio in Decatur.
For sure.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that that's how you two met. That's fabulous.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Talking about physical wellness and being intentional. And that's what I think about with Shalo Glow is coming back to yourself on a daily basis. Did I cut myself? Do I have any nicks or anything? Outside of that, of course, being preventative and making sure that my body has what it needs to take care of it, whether it's cold outside or protect my immune system, because that's what it does when you seal your moisture barrier, right? But also that intentionality of being still. again, the non-negotiables of coming back to myself. And like you were talking about earlier, Christine, before the phone is buzzing and you're following up with people and you're trying to get the calls before the end of business and all this stuff, it's, well, what do I want today to be? What does God have for me in this day? And if today is the last day, because we don't know which one it is, how do I want to set up my energy to go forward into the things that I have set up, planned for the day? So I love that you help people with burnout and prevention and sitting in their own authority and saying, hey, this is who you are. You are not wrong. You are not out of time. It is to complement the people around you. We do not have to be identical, little tiny homes, everybody being the same. We are uniquely and fearfully made.
Definitely. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
So, Christine, when you think about it, is there a difference between interplay and things like this, or are they just options that people have? What do you think about when you
I
have these
think there are
conversations?
different modalities, right?
Right.
I think it's just different approaches to getting to the same goal,
That
which is
makes
for
sense.
us to be in our bodies, to be
Mhm.
embodied, to have those steps. And like it works for different people in different ways, right?
Right.
It's like when I think about how many different churches and religions there are, right?
Right.
There's a lot of different paths to God,
Mhm.
right? And that we don't have to make them wrong. Like, and I
Mhm.
think about this as far as modalities. There's a lot of really yummy modalities that can help
Yeah.
us get into our bodies, and different people like different things, and some of us like a lot of them.
Right. Right.
Because I'm
I
like,
like that.
oh yeah, sign me up. Like, here we go. I have been Sahar. I've been I'm trying to think how many years ago it was. I got my sound healing certification from a woman. She was here from Germany for a couple of years, and she had this was, I mean, year before people even started talking about it, right? It was fascinating because one of my friends is like, oh, you got to learn about this. I'm like, what the heck is this, right?
Mhm.
And it was where and I need to go back and look at my certificate and all that. I should be able to name my lineage, but I'm not really good at that. And it was a method that came from Germany where they were working with folks. And I love this part. This was probably 15 years ago. They were working with folks in nursing homes and in facilities, and people that had palsy and people that had strokes, using sound therapy by putting the metal bowls on their bodies and doing a whole treatment with them. And when I first had a sound session and somebody put bowls on me, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I
Mhm.
was not, at that time in my life, I was not a meditator. I couldn't
Mhm.
sit still long enough to meditate.
Mhm.
I had not figured out that for me, I'm kinesthetic. So I need to do
Yeah.
yoga, I need to dance, I need to walk or move before I meditate. Because those folks that can just sit down and
Mhm.
meditate, yeah, more power to you. That is
Yeah.
not me, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
what happened with the bowls, because it is sound vibration, that is kinesthetic. And
Mhm.
so feeling the vibration of the bowls is so, like, I just light up. Like, I'm like, I do it for other people. I love it when other people do it for me. I have a friend named Wizard that is in, where is he at? Panama City, Florida, and he's opening a new meditation center. But he uses giant gongs and
Mhm.
bowls. And the first time I ever experienced the sound bath using gongs, I was like, sign me up forever. Like, it was oh, what event was that? It was an event that used to happen in Decatur pre-pandemic that was, it'll come to me. It was a free event for years. It was 1 week in the month, and there was curtain, and there was sound baths. Oh, I have a water bottle from it. Y'all keep talking and it'll come up. You know how it's one of those things that's in your brain, but it's like, what? It's been a couple of years since I've been.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, I experienced a sound bath there, and we were in a room with probably 40 people, 50 people pre-pandemic, right? We didn't know. We're all laying down, playing these giant gongs and bowls, and just the journeys you can take when you're in a setting like that, to me, are amazing.
I'm really glad you shared that though, because I think about us doing meditations, different things that I would like to see us have at our retreat, right? When we finally
Mhm.
plan it. And that's a great idea to have a walk before the meditation. Got it.
You know what that made me think of? I was like, that makes sense based on your human design. You're a generator.
Right?
You're supposed to be busy bee. So
Right?
go, go, go.
So when you said that, like, I've always known I'm a generator. I've never
Mhm,
really done a deep dive with my human design, and I need to. I probably need to book a session with you and go through it. And our friend Marla Durden does it also. Like, we have,
Mm.
it's a really cool thing. I've always just kind of skimmed on the surface. But
mhm.
what does it mean when my strategy is to respond?
Yes. Okay. So this one is really interesting because out of the five different types that I mentioned, four of them have to wait for something. So generators and manifesting generators have to wait to respond. And that can sound like really elusive, right? All it means is that you're responding to life. It's responding to anything, really. So the example that I give people is you don't want to initiate something as soon as it comes into your head, but you want to wait for an opportunity to respond in real life. So it could be that you have this initiative that you want to start. It pops into your head, it feels great. You're like, I want to move forward with this. Take a pause and then see where life brings you opportunities to respond with that initiative. So it could be that you overhear a conversation or you're in a group conversation and someone brings up, I've been thinking about XYZ, and I really wish there was something out there that could help me with that. And it's an alignment. And so that is your opportunity to respond. It could be as simple as seeing a billboard or seeing an advertisement on the television. That's an opportunity to respond. It could be responding to nature, it could be responding to a song you hear on the radio. Every moment of your life, you have an opportunity to respond to something outside of yourself. So it's just making sure that you're not forcing things into existence, but you're kind of going with the flow of where life is taking you.
That makes so much sense to me. It really does. Yeah.
And I like the go with the flow part. I used to younger Shannon would say, "Only dead fish go with the flow." And and I was like, right, and I was like, "No, you have to make a plan and don't just do what other people tell you," right? But
Mhm.
then one day I was volunteering at a garden in Atlanta, and one of the gardeners was teaching us that when you pull out the roots, go with nature, right? Don't fight against nature. And she
Mm,
changed my mind. Sometimes you need to go with the flow. Why are you fighting everything?
mm.
So I like that you said that.
I like that analogy. That's a good one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Risk, risk
Yeah.
damaging the plant, right? Risk.
Right. Yeah. All of those things. Like sometimes it's okay to not go with everything, but you don't have to go against everything either.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about all these things, right, and your experience with depression, burnout, and where you are now, what are things that you do to keep yourself in a really good place with all of this?
So for me, I am a projector.
Okay.
That is one of the non-energy types. And I can get into explanation of that if you'd like afterwards.
Okay.
So for me, it is very important to prioritize rest. And it's really funny because that's something that I did intuitively growing up. And, you sometimes get the side eye from like parents or authority figures. It's like, why do you sleep so much? And now
Right.
I'm just like, because I need it.
Yes.
That's exactly why. So for me, it's really prioritizing rest. Again, listening to my body when I feel like, okay, I'm reaching my threshold, I'm reaching my tipping point where I will burn out if I continue going, um, as well as listening to my strategy. So putting myself in places and spaces where I can be invited. So for projectors, we have to wait for a direct invitation as opposed to just responding to everything in our sphere of influence. And so just leaning into that and learning to recognize smaller invitations when they come, because those are always going to be more in alignment with me and where I need to go. And just honoring that that is the way that I should operate, not feeling frustrated or distraught because I can't respond like a generator or initiate like a manifester or any of those things. Just learning to love my energy and honor it and move forward with it.
Right. So, did you think about that when I invited you to be part of the podcast?
Mm. Yes, I think I did on a
Okay.
subconscious level.
Mhm.
Well, that whole interaction I felt like was serendipitous or like
Mm.
just again divine. Like I wasn't expecting to be there that day. I just offered to help out
Yes.
the friend. And so we ended up having that wonderful conversation and then it led to this experience. So again, yeah, it's like putting myself in those places, being open to invitations when they come. So, like the invitation to help with the sound bath led to the
Right.
invitation to this podcast, which may lead to another invitation. Who knows?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And that led to the first Monday healing circle at Little Five Points.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
love that. Love that. Just following the thread,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
So, every week we do a wisdom in action. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, right? It's great to have all of this information, but we also have to put it into play. So,
Mhm.
for physical wellness, what are you doing specifically this week for yourself, Sahar?
Hmm. So, one thing that I have been diligent about over the past few months is just making sure that I do some sort of physical movement each day. Usually, first thing in the morning, I'll do a mini workout. And if I'm feeling good, I'll do a little bit more. Um, and again, dancing, like I will go to dance classes as much as possible because that is my joyful movement, my joyful expression.
Love it.
Yeah. Um, and that's what I would encourage everyone to do. When it comes to burnout, connecting it back to human design again, different chart types burn out for different reasons, but it is imperative for everyone, no matter what their type, to be pursuing the activities that bring them the most joy or intrigue. So that is the one key that I'll leave with you guys.
I
Ooh,
love it.
I love
Mhm.
that. And
Yeah.
as you're talking, Sahar, Shannon, let's connect Sahar with Satima Ra. Um,
Yes.
Satima Ra is, first of all, our genius behind the scenes because she does
Yes.
sound auditing, but she is also the only certified Kukumara dancer.
Kukawa. Mhm.
Kukawa, I said it wrong.
Gotcha. You
Sorry,
mixed your name with it. It's
I
okay.
did.
We love you. It's okay.
Dancer, and
Yeah.
she's an African dance instructor in
Mhm.
Atlanta, and so oh, we love her classes, and she just restarted some classes in January.
Oh,
So
she did.
let's get
Mm.
y'all connected because
Yes.
Please.
it's fun. We always have such a good time dancing with her. All
Yeah, we
right,
do.
Shannon, what is your wisdom in action this week?
My wisdom. Ooh, let me see. What do I wanna say? Maybe what about this? Courage, because we were talking about courage, right? You have, a challenge that you're doing right now, Sahar, of courage. Today, you were talking about fear online. So I'll say courage to provide coverage, okay?
Ooh.
And that is because I told you guys I got my license to be a life and health insurance agent. So I'm officially starting this weekend writing policies. So I'm excited about that. So the courage to provide other people coverage, right? But also for physical wellness for myself, I think about Shalo Glow and making sure that I'm on my non negotiables, making sure that I'm taking care of myself and that I'm not fighting against, oh, should I be doing this for myself when I have so much to do for other people? I can offer coverage to other people and make sure I'm covered at the same time.
Love it.
Thank you.
I love it.
What about you?
I think mine's going to be much more simple than that.
Okay.
I think it's going to be get outside more.
Get
So
outside.
I am missing being outside, and I've just been working too much. So I'm
Mhm.
going to get outside on lunch breaks, or tonight we're teaching our third annual Connected and Vision class. So it won't be tonight, but I'll start with tomorrow about
Beautiful.
get outside more. So, ugh,
Beautiful.
this has been such a delightful conversation. Thank
Yes.
you so much, Sahar, for being with us today.
Thank you all
Yes.
again for inviting me. This has been wonderful.
Of
Right.
course. And before you go, can you tell people where to find you so if they're interested in learning more about their human design, they know how to connect with you?
Most definitely. So I am on Instagram at Capture Your Dream Coaching. You can find me online at captureyourdreamcoaching.com. And on there, I have options to receive readings, whether you want an abbreviated reading or a full reading. You can also sign up for coaching. In my coaching program, we actually take you through your entire chart to learn how to use your energy to get in flow with your goals as opposed to trying to force your goals into your life.
Mm.
And yes, that's all the things.
That's
Beautiful.
awesome. We'll make sure they're in our show notes, people. So if you're driving when you're listening to this, don't
Right.
worry. You can go to womenconnectingwisdom.com
We
and
got
get
you.
connected to our podcast, which has our show notes on it. Or you can, well, if you're listening on your favorite podcast app. So
Right.
it'll have the link there too. So, all
We
right.
got it
Anything
covered.
else before we say goodbye, Sahar?
I just want to leave everyone with the message to honor yourself, honor your body, and just know that you have the power to create the life you want to live.
Mm, yes.
So
Thank
important.
you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
that.
We're so grateful to be connected to you, and we
Yes.
look forward to more.
This has been
Talk to you.
amazing.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Oh my gosh, what a great conversation.
This is one of my favorite things to do.
Right?
Just help people stand in their authority, get people connected to the resources that make sense. And I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
I love when we talk to expert guests from all over the world, and I especially love when we talk to local folks. And the
Mm,
reason is because I know we're going to be in community with them, right? We
yes.
might be in community with some of the ones across the nation, but we know we're going to be in community with Sahar, right?
Right.
She was at your Glow Club.
Yes,
I'm
she
like,
was.
I'm looking up Jeremy's studio, like,
It
oh,
was
when are we
good.
having a sound bath? Let's do
Yes.
that,
And
right?
Shaylo Glow's gonna have events over there too, so we'll definitely get you over
Oh,
there. It's beautiful.
fun. Oh
Yes.
my gosh, I can't wait. All right,
Yes.
anything you have going on that we need to let folks know about before we sign
Yes.
off?
So we talked about Glow Club, right? That is still going on,
Mhm,
guys. The third Saturday of every month at the retail space, 228 Auburn Avenue. It's gonna be not next weekend, like she was talking about, but the weekend after
mhm.
that, right? We're going to be at the retail space talking about a safe space, right? So that could be in community, that could be in your body, like we're talking about here today. And we'll go through the products. What else do we have? We have the vision board party. So if you guys have not already RSVP'd, we have maybe 30 minutes depending on when you listen to this. If it's January 10th, right? So we have our third connected and vision party, and we've had a really good time doing this the past 2 years. We did volume two last year, so we've seen the things that we talked about and put on our vision board come to fruition. And do I have anything else going on? I mean, I
We'll
guess, what were you going to
Oh,
say?
go ahead. I was going to say because we're working on it, and
Mm.
I will put the link in the show notes
The
to
summit?
our summit that's coming up at the
Tell them
end of
about it.
February. So we have a virtual summit, y'all, that is coming up February 23rd and 24th. 2 days of amazing speakers, and it is free. You can
Yes.
come for free. You can get the VIP package where you get all the recordings of the sessions. That way, if you're working, that pesky work, you can
Mm.
listen to the recordings afterwards. And we always have a really amazing VIP basket that
Yes.
has things like Shalo Glow Oil in it, and
Yes. Yes.
coaching sessions, and all
Mhm.
kinds of goodies in it. So we will put that Humanitix link in our show notes, or
Yes.
you can go to Humanitix and look up Women Connected in Wisdom Virtual Summit, and it'll pop up. So
Yes. I love it.
yeah.
And the last thing I was going to say, if you do have questions, coverage with life and health insurance can be a thing. I know I always had questions about it up until getting this education. So
Mhm.
if you're intentional about your physical wellness and want to ask some of those questions that have been on the table and you haven't known where to go, we can definitely get connected. Connect with me on Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you have my profile, and we can make sure that we get those questions answered for you.
Absolutely.
You have
All
anything else
right.
coming up, Christine?
I do. I have a life practice event that's going to be starting and with Interplay. And it is a program where people can do a deep dive and get
Mhm.
connected to themselves and community. All my events, because there's too many to mention, you can find in our show notes. My link tree is the best place to go, and you see the events and what's going on. And I'd love to meet you out in community and just say hello.
Yes,
And I know you and I are working on a couple of book signings and all
we are.
kinds of fun things coming up for 2024. So,
Yes. We'll keep you guys
yeah,
posted.
right.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for entering into season 17 with us, talking about physical wellness. We'll be back here live at 5 next week. In the meantime, if you're not at the Connected and Vision party, right? In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. We'll see you soon. Peace.
See you next week.